Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 60 of A Naughty Mess Knitting Podcast. Okay, we've got a lot of projects to get through. I am going to talk about 9 of them. 9 of my 10 whips. Yep, you're right. That's a lot. I don't have any finished objects to talk about this week though, and I do have one semi-finished spin. I'll show it to you this week and I'll show it to you next week. So let's go forward on the things. And I have one acquisition, which is something I talked about last week, and it's not yarn. So that's good. For anyone who's new, welcome. My name is Megan. I live in the Pacific Northwest with my husband, Mike, our daughter, Theo, my mom, Cindy, and our dog, Winter. I am primarily a knitter, though I do crochet on occasion, and I do spin yarn, and yeah, that's me. I don't need to do all the housekeeping stuff this week. We are adapting, so I'll put my website down there. I've got a couple other links if you're interested. Some of them are at the bottom, some of them are at the top. This is the last week though. I will say this is the last week you're going to be able to get Podcaster Fiber. So if you're on the fence and you're thinking about it, do it now. Trisha is going to close it at the end of the month, and the coupon code, which is A Naughty Mess, all caps, is only good until the 30th. So you have until Monday. So if you're watching this over the weekend and you're thinking about it, put those things in your cart and get them. It's 15% off. You can only use the code once. It's amazing stuff. Oh, Trisha, I will share this little anecdote. So I got a message from Trisha on maybe it was Saturday or Sunday. Maybe it was Saturday. And she was doing the Lehigh Valley Yarn Festival, which is very close to where I grew up. And she was like, hey, I just met a friend of yours. Her name is Pam. She said that you've known each other since elementary school. And now Pam, she does watch the podcast, but Pam has been, I said to Trisha that Pam and her mom have been my lifelong yarn supporters. Pam's mom is a quilter, and so I grew up, I mean, my mom also has always done crafts, but I grew up with several of my friends' moms who were really into their craft. I feel like my mom dabbled a lot. Like she did some cross stitch, she did some crochet, she did some knitting, but all things that we're not that in depth. But Sue is this a master quilter, and she does these, they're gorgeous. Everything she does is gorgeous. But she did let Pam and I pick out backings and sometimes the color combos, which as a 10-year-old was the most fun thing ever, because I was like, I can pick something, how cool. And probably not always the best choice, but you learn more about color things as you grow up. But Pam has been a knitter for a long time as well. And I don't know if we started at the same time. She maybe started before me, but in high school, I'm pretty sure she self-drafted some patterns, and she has been making sweaters and making garments for much longer than I have. But doing a lot of self-drafted, just understanding how garments are made and then making things in textures and or designs that she likes, which is very cool. She's always been more artistic than me, so that is not going to be something I dabble with. But I went home pre-baby for my cousin's wedding, and that was the last time I saw Pam. And so we stayed friends. We were friends in elementary school all the way through, but she was drop spindling and also had some fleeces to wash. So this was so far before anything that was oh, I'll never spin yarn. Yeah, and now here I am. So I love that Pam has always been another fiber friend that I've had. It's sad that she's so far away, but it's also that's what the socials are great for. I still get to catch up with her and see what she's working on, and she gets to see what I'm working on. So she saw Trisha and she bought some fiber. And now Pam is very much a fall and has looks amazing in all the neutrals. Probably a reason why I always wanted to be a neutrals girly, one of them, and just it's not unfortunately was not in the cards for me. But I hope she enjoys and loves this very vibrant fiber that is mine, and that she makes something fun with it that reminds her of me. So, and I have some of her hand spun actually from several years ago, and some stuff that she hand dyed, which I should pull out. She did tell me it was a very scratchy, first attempts at some stuff, but I do want to do some more wall hangings, and I have an idea for one that could use those colors in it. That would be really fun. I just haven't gotten there yet. It's like something that I would need to pull time and like be okay with a crazy mess for a little bit to like get it up and running. But I do have a couple spaces where I would like to do a little yarn hanging in my house. Okay, that's a divergent topic. Sorry for that little side, but thought it was a very fun thing. It's nice that Trisha's like on the East Coast. She's going to be up and down for fairs, and she has the podcaster yarn. Her stuff is so cute. Her booth is very cute. And if you're not a fiber spinner, you're not a yarn spinner, she does also have Shanico. All her natural bases are Shanico. So if you are interested in trying Shanico, I'm sure I've said this before, but like the coupon code won't work for that, but you should check out, she's got tonals mostly in her dyed yarn, but most of her fiber is fun and variegated. I think maybe all her fiber is fun and variegated, which makes for really fun pairings. Okay, actually, while we're on that topic though, I will, let me show you a couple of things. So first of all, I caked on my yarn this is my Yarn Jam spin for Anonymous color. And I made these little notes for how many yards each of them are, because I did use Ariel's Dreaming Robots little yardage counter, which I just want to make sure it like fit with my setup. It works beautifully. It's super easy to use. And so most of these balls are somewhere around 270. And I did not weigh anything when I was plying. So some of them are bigger than the others, right? But like most of them are around 270 yards, and most of them are around 4 ounces, which puts me at like a DK weight. But I did do a swatch, which if you are following me on Instagram, I posted this over the weekend. And I did just do this flat. I did not knit in the round. I just did a flat stockinette. So you can also see how quick these color changes are. Some of them are very, very fast, but like it's hard to tell because you have to really get in there. So like even this, like these colors are changing. These like 6 rows, there's like 3 colors really. And it's gorgeous and I really love it. And I got the right gauge for the DRK Everyday, which is a sport weight pattern. So like, but I think maybe it's a woolen spun that she spins it with, so it's going to be like a little bit loftier, and so like this would work fine. Like gauge wise, it's dead on, both row and stitch gauge. And I was looking through my patterns. I have that one from her, and I also have the Weekender Crew, which is the same gauge. It's 1 stitch off. Like this is 21 by 32 for the DRK Everyday, and the Weekender Crew is 21 by 33, I think, which is actually kind of crazy because that is listed as a DK weight knit. So as you can see, there's a lot of variance available, and that depending on the type of yarn you pick within the yarn weight, right? They're both for 4mm needles swatch, which is what this swatch is. So I'm very pleasantly surprised that I didn't even like look to see if they were the same gauge, but they are. Now, I think I was really wanting to do the DRK Everyday, and I love the way that fits, and I'm still very debating on it, but I have enough yardage to make the Weekender Crew, and the pockets and getting a little bit extra like a change in texture, because the Weekender Crew is actually reverse stockinette for the body, so it'd be all this yummy, like because it's marly, I think that would be so fun. But the sleeves are stockinette. I don't know. I'm like really debating. Okay, so maybe I'll put a poll up on my Instagram, but also if you want to vote here and let me know, like DRK Everyday or Weekender Crew, I'll pop the pictures up here. That would be really helpful to me. Anyway, this isn't really anything. I just like have yarn, wanted to talk about it. Let's talk about what I'm wearing. I got all distracted. This is the Brooklyn Raglan Lite. It is a pattern I tested for Tour U. This came out last summer. I finished this July 13th of 2023, so I'm assuming it came out sometime late July, early August. It is a fingering weight top-down raglan, which you can't really see my raglan. There it is. You can see it. That has a textured sleeve. So the sleeve is like a broken moss stitch, and the body is stockinette. This is made with Dragon Horde yarn in Lore sock, which is 85% wool, 15% nylon. It's 436 yards for 100 grams, and it is the color Butterbeer. I use 3.4 skeins for this. Let me see what it says. I don't have my like finished measurements, but it says that I made a size 5. Which is a 50-inch bust. That seems about right. Maybe I got a little bit more width than that. I am wearing it in this is my favorite fall outfit. No, I'm not a fall. We just talked about this. I should not really be wearing yellowy orange ever. It's not really a great color for me, but I love these red overalls. And I also had this yarn. I love the color. I love the way that Tristan dyed this. It's so special the way, like, okay, there's speckles, but there's really short repeats of like, there's a gray brown color in here, some lighter and darker reds, and some brown. And like the way that she does her fingering, it's just so even. I did helically knit this, but like, it's even. This is not just, it's not just like because of the pattern or whatever. Like, it's the yarn. The yarn is great. This pattern does come short sleeves and long sleeves as 2 options. And there is a DK weight version, but this is the fingering. So anywho, let's move on to things we need to talk about this week. Okay, I'm going to go down the list. Also, can you see, like, I'm wearing a Band-Aid, which my daughter is obsessed with the fact that I'm wearing a Band-Aid. But I just like cut my finger open really bad when I was opening a box yesterday. So, let me show you my semi-finished spin first. So I said I was going to try to do a bat, and this is one I got from like a mystery, fiber haul. I got some really good things from that fiber haul, but this is one that I like. These are not colors I care about, right? But it's called, From Wool for the Dame, which is bats and roll eggs, I guess is what they sell. It's 2.5 ounces. The color's called Permission to Dance, and it is merino, silk, noil, and stellina. And I did not have a great time spinning this. It's fine. I did a chain ply because it's just not that much yarn, and I didn't feel like splitting. I didn't really pay attention when I first started to like split the bat in half. And this was interesting how the bat looked. I should have taken a picture, but it was very orange on one side, which is the merino, and like the silk and stellina was just kind of on top. So the way I decided, I wanted to try some long draw. What I found out is that's not the best way. That's not the best thing to practice on, because having the mixed fiber, silk is really hard to not draft traditionally, especially because there were some pretty big nubs. And so as I was like pulling to long draw, it would just be like this huge silk bloop, and you can't pull it apart. It would just like rip the whole thing if I kept pulling. So I ended up doing something that was closer to like a short backward or like a mid backward draft. And I was like pulling a little bit, but then I had to like help it along. It was fine. It was not a fun experience necessarily, but it did give me a little bit of confidence with the pulling back. I was like, oh, you can do this like pretty far. So maybe I'll do the bat from Bridget next, which was, she gifted me during when she was here for Flock, which would be a really fun thing to practice, and definitely something I would do before I try the like prismatic roving. That's kind of a woolen prep, which is what I want to spin, woolen spun. But I think the bat will give me a better indication of like what that actually feels like. Anyway, so it's fine. This is, let me pull this side here. You can kind of see, it's so orangey. But you can see the 3-ply in there a little bit. They're kind of rounded. The silk was predominantly blue, but there was definitely like pink and green parts to it too. And this is not washed, so it's a little bit crimpy, you can see. But if I kind of not put a ton of attention on it, this is probably what it'll look like when it's washed. And it'll plump up a little bit. I don't know what else to say about it. It was fine. It was a good practice. I don't think I'll do anything with this. Maybe this one will go to Charlotte to play with. She's taking our hand spun extras. But yeah, so I'm going to wash this week. I don't know if I'll do the bat next or if I'll do another short forward spin, just something else. But yeah, we'll see. Okay. Also, if you don't know, Bridget and Ariel are doing a cozy make-along. Cozy Comforts, I think is Cozy Comforts make-along. And they're doing all kinds of neck accessories, and they've got like an emphasis for spinning. So also yesterday I was watching Ariel's podcast from this week, and I was like, do I have things that are already spun I could use, or do I have anything that I want to spin to use? And I have a little bit of extra from my Kip sweater of the Ulysse. And I have to weigh it to see if it's enough to make the smaller version of the vice versa, but maybe I'll spin for that because I could probably get like a, you know, sporty DK weight. I have a couple of braids that would be really nice with that color, and I don't know. I don't need to cast anything on, but it goes until the end of the year, and it would be fun. And do I need another shawl? I mean, probably not, because I don't wear them. But I like to make them, so there's that. Okay, let's go to the Heirloom Quilt Cardigan. I did a thing this week. I washed all 10 that I have done. I did finish 2 more, which let me see which ones I did. So these are the 2 new additions. This little black and gold one, and this little coral and blue. Oh, I like this one. This is really fun. Okay, and then I washed all 10. So the other ones. Okay, I did not weave in ends yet. I am going to do that, and I was kind of thinking I would do that before I wash them, but because I wanted to play with the tension a little bit when I wash them to see like what do they really measure when they're wet, when they start drying. And I didn't have to really pull any of them. I didn't have to do a lot of manipulation. But that still keeps me, you know, it leaves that last bit. Now they're feeling a little cemented where they are. That's nice. So I'll just go in and do all the ends maybe this weekend. But we can see some of the ones I finished. So I have a green and gold. I have a blue and rose. I have a coral and tan. This one's pretty. I really like the coral color. I have a gold and blue. A rose and black. That's one of my favorites. The rose and tan, also pretty. And the black and coral. Yeah. These have got to be some of my favorites. These ones are really fun. So we shall see. I got a message from Charlotte in our, like, we have a couple of channels in our Discord, our like knitting Discord, and one of them is project updates, and Charlotte wrote in there this weekend, like, it's not too late. You could stop doing this. She just sewed them together, and she was like, sewing them together was horrible, which, like, obviously, like, I mean, I know that it's going to be horrible, but she said it was worse than she expected. And I mean, I'm too far in, and I'm also really committed to the look, and because I love how much I love these all so much, like, no, I have to make this even if it's really terrible. But then she brought it to knit night, and I was like, Charlotte, I don't know if you're trying to convince me not to do it, because she's like, I sewed in all these ends, and then I have so many more ends to sew in from sewing it together. And I was like, right, but it's gorgeous, and it's not convincing me not to do it. Hers looks amazing, and Charlotte used some EKF she got from the Rose City Yarn Crawl, which was Iceland colors, and an Advent that she got last year that were blues, and that's like very much not a Charlotte color, but she made it work, and it's so pretty. She did hold fingering double, and I've got to say, I'm sure a lot of you know this, in many patterns or in other places, it says that you can replace 2 strands of fingering with a DK or vice versa. You can to get similar gauge, but the heft of the project does feel different. Also, Charlotte made the smaller squares, and our gauge, I mean, like, she said she was on gauge for like her squares, and I'm on gauge for my squares, like for size mostly. I'm actually a little bit not as wide, but a little bit taller, which is fine. I actually would rather the length than the width, so that works out great for me. And I probably could have stretched it a little bit. I'm like a 1/4 inch off in height and a 1/2 inch. So if I had stretched it a little bit more, probably would have been fine, but I didn't want to distort the triangles, so I just left it like pretty much just laid them flat and pinned. But feeling her jacket, like everything but the sleeves and, you know, like just the squares together is what she brought to knit night. It is not that this isn't going to be heavy, but it feels really dense, like more jackety feeling, which I love, and it was really great. But I'm like, yeah, it's not going to be like that. Like mine just won't be, and that's okay. What I did think about though is I'm a little nervous because I didn't catch any floats on the back, that I'm maybe would catch myself. Like, I think you putting your arms through the hole, not through the rest of the jacket, but I am thinking I might ask my mom to help me sew some lining to the jacket, just to the body part. And that we will cross that bridge later, and I can always do it after the jacket is done too, fully. Okay. So those are my very fun squares. Let's move on to the Belmullet Pullover, which is a test knit I am doing for Andrea Gaughan. I am progressing. I didn't do a ton of this one this week. I did add, here's my little latte stitch marker by Hello Lavender. Yeah, it almost gets lost in here because it's the same color, but it's so cute. I added, you know, I don't know, 2.5, 3 inches, but I finished a ball of yarn, and then I decided I really wanted the collar to be done. This is sewn down. I just have kind of a long tail still. I didn't cut last night because I wanted to try it on before deciding if I liked how the neck is sitting, and I am liking how it's sitting. I probably will leave this long tail just in case I need to rip back or anything, but I do think like sleeves make a big difference. You know, like pulling the shoulders down a little bit for how it'll sit. But this does sit pretty close to my neck, but it's not like choking me. And so I still have, I mean, I feel like it looks like a lot of sweater, and then I put it on and I was like, oh, this is like an itty bitty, like this just goes over my boobs at this point. And so I've got a lot to go. But that's okay. I have time. I have until December 1st for this. This is obviously a top down drop shoulder cable work worsted Aran weight sweater. This is a size 5. It's 53.25 inches. Recommended ease is 6 to 8 inches. I'm a little bit like, I'm on the lower end for that. This is 5mm needles. Bodies for the body. The recommended needles is a 4.5, but I went up because my yarn is a little bit smoother than what she was using, but I used 2 sizes down for the ribbing as was recommended. So it was like 4.5, or it was 3.5 in the pattern, but I used 4. I think that was the right call for this. It feels right. It is a folded neckband, so I did knit 3 inches and then sewed it down. I did bind off and then sew down also, in case that's something relevant to you. You could do either way, but the instructions say to bind off then sew down, and I like that better. I think you tend to get a better fit that way. This is Malabrigo worsted in the color Water Green. It is 100% merino, 210 yards for 100 grams. It's like a single ply, yeah, yarn. It's going to be felty, but it's okay. I really love it. I really love it. It's like really fun. The texture is nice. It's super squishy, has a lot of stretch. Okay, that's that. Then I have my 3 Seasons pullover, which got a lot of work this week, and I am in the home stretch-ish. I just have sleeves left, which is fun. And I don't even have all the sleeves left. I have 1.5 sleeves left. It's a little bit more than 1.5. This is a 3 Season pullover by Abbye and Selena from Wool and Pine Designs. One thing I will say is I kind of want to finish it, including the sleeves, because I think that will help gauge this for real. But I may rip back the neckline a little bit. I like how it's maybe too many stitches, but it's also, it's okay. I actually think it's fine, but I might want to give myself a little, make it a little less deep. But I tried it on and it's like still giving me, like the V is probably here. So that's actually like probably fine. I don't know. I tried this on late at night and I feel like you should not make decisions on fit late at night. And I wasn't. I just wanted to like see how actually the sleeve was fitting because I already had this done, and then Abbye and Selena put out an update, and one of the things they updated, which there are several testers who are done. This is due October 11th. But there are several testers who have made the comments, who have just picked up sleeves or maybe finished more, that they felt the arms were tighter than expected per like what was measuring. When you do small circumference lace and cables in small circumference needles versus like the regular part of your body, you're always gonna be a little bit tighter usually, unless you're like a really loose knitter or like, I don't know, you're really good at controlling, you know, and matching your circumference. So like my Haley sweater, I went up a needle size on the sleeves. That's not abnormal. I think the lace plays a part in that too, because of those like the yarn overs and the knitting two together. It just like sometimes that gets a little bit like it should have good stretch, but maybe it'll like get tighter when you're in the small circumference. Anyway, they put out the like a slightly different pickup rate to give the sleeves just more of what they had planned for sleeve circumference. I actually put this on to see how I felt like, because I didn't want to rip back if I didn't have to, and I would just go with the original pattern for, you know, since I'm already started. And I actually really like how the sleeves are fitting. I don't think it's too big. They're not going to be billowy, but it's definitely not too tight on my arm, and this is not washed and blocked or anything. So I'm going to stick with that. And yeah, so that's where I am on the sleeves. I'm halfway through the chart. I'll have to do the chart like 2.5 times. So like a quarter of the way through or whatever. Yeah, a little bit less than a quarter of the way through. I really love it. Oh, so last week I was in the front panel. I was like just here, like just under the front being connected. And so I finished the front panel. I did the ribbing. I sewed them together, and you can see how that looks here. You get like a slight, you know, it's an interruption in the lace, but it's like what gives a little bit of structure. You've got like a couple selvage stitches on each side, and so you have those here where when you sew it together. I think it looks really nice, the sewn line actually. Like it's just super pretty. And so I am, yeah, sewn together on both sides, picked up. I'm going to finish this hopefully this weekend. Maybe that's ambitious, but I'm going to try to get through like a bunch of this sleeve tonight and then see how I feel. It did feel like not even the pickup took a long time, but like I do feel like it's not as smooth to knit in small circumference sometimes. And sometimes sleeves fly by, sometimes they don't. And this one, the chart is a little part of it. So like each row that you're cabling or doing other things is going relatively fast. And you're doing the lace on either side, but there's just something about like, I do feel like I'm fighting with my needles a little bit more maybe. And I did go up to a 5.5. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Like I probably did this towards the end of one night, and I just need to start with this tonight. Maybe while I'm editing, I'll do some rows. Okay. Yeah, overall, I really like it. Oh, and I did the collar this weekend. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I will probably finish it entirely. Then decide if I want to do the neck and then block. Because even if that opens it a little bit, like the neck, I'll know if I like it or not. I'm in the middle. I don't know. Just a note on sizing. So that is a size 5. It's 50 inches. Recommended ease is 4 to 8 inches. I'm just under recommended ease, but also, you know, that's okay for me. I am using the recommended needles, which is 5 millimeters. I am using the yarn that the pattern was like the sample was made with. Part of the reason of this 3 seasons is that you should be able to wear it for much of the year. So they chose a cotton merino wool yarn, and it is blown tube construction. It's Cascade Yarns Cantata in the color Plum, which is number 21. It is 70% cotton, 30% superwash merino, 218 yards for 100 grams. So you could use other DK or worsted weight yarns that will get you there. I think the heft of the project will feel different. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, the cotton yarn is heavy, but I think it's like, you know, like the bloom and like how the lace works and like the breathability will change if you don't use a cotton yarn. There are other blown tube yarns. Hobby has one. Katia has one. So this one was not expensive. It's very like mid-range-ish. Maybe Nitpicks has one. I actually don't think they do, but like you could replace this, yeah, with anything. So I just decided I wanted to try this blown tube yarn to see, because I love I like that like halo, the white with the halo look. And I hate the only sweater I have that is using this kind of yarn was old Hobby version of this yarn that it's very scratchy and the worst. This is nice. It's nice and soft. It's easy to work with. It's much easier to work with because it doesn't feel crunchy while you're using it. Which is like a good indicator how it will wear. Okay, let's go on to my Lauder Vest. This is just a knit with friends. I'm knitting with Ariel. We were both making the V-neck version of the vest. This is a pattern by Rebecca Clow, who is the Cray Bay. It came out like this spring or summer. And it's a pattern that comes with a pullover, cardigan, and vest version. And like truly, the pullover and cardigan are maybe one file, the vest is another, and like it's got, you know, slightly different shaping and all the things for each of those patterns, but it's using all the same cable motif. I have my little from Hello Lavender Flock 2024 stitch marker on here, and I put in like 2 repeats. So I'm not going to talk about this very much. I didn't do very much, but I just wanted to show you. This got a little bit of love. I did bring this to Knit Night to see Ariel's and mine compared to each other. Okay, they do look like different sizes. I think she's making a size 1 or 2. Obviously, I'm making a size 4. I chose the 4 because I wanted less ease. This is a 47¼ inch finished circumference. It should be recommended ease is 0.75 to 6 inches. So you can do as much as you want. I think more for me, it's the shoulders that I wanted to make sure are not too wide. So actually this like looks appropriate. And I could always add like a little bit. I mean, not really. I guess I could like in the underarms add a couple stitches extra if I wanted to between repeats, but because this is like a small cable, large cable, small cable, large cable repeat, like it continues the whole body. This is made with Skeins Incognito yarn in Brittany, which is yarn I got from a international yarn swap with a friend in New Zealand. And I'm using 4mm needles, which is 1 size larger than recommended. Okay, but when Ariel and I compared them, hers looks so much plumper than mine, but my stretch is really a lot more than hers is. So I think it'll be fine. They'll flatten out a little bit, but with an all over cable, like I don't think I'm gonna be upset by that. It's kind of hard for you to see. I mean, it's not easier when I get closer, really, because like the light washes it out. Maybe you can see it more. These cables are so fun. This yarn has like a very interesting feel because it's almost got like a lanolin-y type feeling, but there's not leaving any residue or anything on my fingers. So I'll be interested to see like how it washes. Like, does it plump up a little when it washes, or is it going to just feel the same? Anyway, each cable round, now that I'm joined, you do a cable round every, I don't know how many, 4 or whatever rows. Like, it's brutal because I have so many cables in the round. It's brutal. It takes a really long time to do one of those. So I just have to have, like, it has to be the right kind of activity I'm listening to or whatever, really listening, because I need to look at all those cables. That's all for that. Made a little bit of progress. Okay. One of the projects I did not bring down last week, but I did work on this week, is my Tessellated Vest. I have 2 vests on the needles. And this, I met up with Katie over the weekend and we did some knitting, and I got a lot of work. This is what I decided to work on, partly because it was something I felt like I could have a conversation and knit, and I didn't have very many other things like at that point, at that time that we met up. So, I guess I could have done like the Lauder, but again, I really have to look for that. this one is just easy peasy. And here's my stitch marker. So I put in a good amount, like maybe 2.5, maybe 3 inches, probably closer to 2.5, but it's so pretty. So it's just curling up a ton on the needles right now. I'm not like, you know, I'm just going to progress through the body over the next month or so. I think once I split, it'll go pretty fast because I thought it would be longer when I did the pullover for my sample knit, but like it actually flew by. And so I think it'll fly by for this too. And then I will not have to do sleeves, and then you just do edges. And so that'll be fun. But yeah, I'm really glad I switched colors because this is like looking absolutely gorgeous. I love it very much. Let's talk details. This is the Tessellated Vest by Andrea Mowry, who is Drea Renee Knits. It is one of, she's got a cardigan, a pullover, a vest, and maybe the pullover and vest came out at the same time. They were Rhinebeck patterns for last year. And yeah, I mean, they're all really, really beautiful. The pattern is the same. It's mosaic knit. So it's bottom up mosaic knit, which just means you're slipping stitches on the patterned rows. I am making the size 5, which is 48 inches. Recommended ease is 2 to 6. That's 1 for me, but again, how I want to wear it, how I want the shoulders to fit, that's the size I want it to make. I am using 3.5 millimeter needles for body and 2.75 I use for the ribbing. Those are all the recommended needles. I think I honestly have not even gauged this at all. Like I didn't check the gauge, but I've got to be very close to on. I could be a little bit over and that would be okay too, but like it's feeling the correct density, etc. The colors for this are the River Anduin, which is this gorgeous teal color. This is maybe like one of my very favorite dyed yarn colors ever. It is from Treehouse Knits. It is in Sierra Sport, which is 100% superwash merino, 328 yards for 100 grams. She was a guest dyer for Long Dog Yarns 1 collection, which is Lord of the Rings inspired. And then this is the same exact composition, but this is from Goosey Fibers, and it is Astronomy Tower. And since renamed, maybe, if they're still dyeing this, because I don't think there's any more Harry Potter colors. I just saw like an announcement at some point for that on their Instagram. And then this is also Treehouse Knits, but this is the Truffula Cashmere in the color Very Beetlejuice. I really wanted to try this. I only got 1 skein of it for this project, but I've not bought it since. I wanted to work with it, but it is a 81% superwash merino, 19% cashmere, 316 yards for 50 grams. It's just a yarn that I really wanted to try before maybe committing, because it's probably could be subbed for like Surrey in projects, but it is a little bit thicker and the coverage is maybe just a tad like less hairy fluffy, like there's a little less poof, but a little more like dense fluff around the strand. So like it's hard because it's knit with something else. I don't know that I would sub them 100%, but like this, you could make like use a Truffula Cashmere for like the ashling where you hold a single strand. It wouldn't be quite as furry fluffy, but it would be really, really nice for like having the density and the lightness. Anyway, just a thought. Whew, we're halfway done. The Field Day Cardigan, which is a gift net I'm making for my mother. It is in yarn she picked out. And this is a pattern by Haley Smedley, who is Ozetta. It's a top-down drop shoulder cardigan. I don't know, words are evading me. Yeah, it's a top-down drop shoulder cardigan. But you knit the neckband at the same time, or like the button band at the same time, which is amazing. And the button band is a ribbed button band, not a double knit. And I am making a size 6 for her, which is 58 inches. Recommended ease is 8 inches. And this is lower than that for her, but I'm not quite on gauge, so we'll be like close to that for her. Anyway, it's fine. I am using 4.5 millimeter needles, which is what's recommended. And this is Long Dog Yarns Merino DK in Clan Fraser. It's 100% superwash merino. It's 250 yards, 400 grams. So I thought I'd be really on for gauge, and I'm not super off, but I am a little bit off, like maybe 1.5 stitches per 4 inches, but it's a lot of inches around, right? So, you know, it's going to be off by like maybe 3 inches in total. So I did some math. Anyway, it's fine. I'm going to try it on her once I connect underneath, because more off is my stitches per inch. And I sort of accommodated for that a little bit, but not in the short rows, because I just did the short rows. You can't really stop them. And I did, instead of measuring the full back, which is what she gives you the measurement for, to when you do extra rows, I decided to measure what the difference would have been at the edge, because this is going to be her armhole. So if I made this, it was like I was a whole inch off, I think, in the back section. And if I took a whole inch off, I would make a shallower armpit hole. Now, my mom doesn't have really great posture, and so her back is gonna, it does take up a little bit more space. So I'm gonna be a little bit more conscious of the rows that go here to see if I can make up for some of what is in the back, like what is gonna make it a little wider, you know, or thicker in the neck area, and then knit and pattern. Anyway, once I join armholes, I'll be able to tell if we're really off or not. And yeah, that's a lot of knitting, and yeah, that'd be a lot to frog back. But if we're like close enough and it's looking okay, then I'm just gonna go for it. She's not real picky. Yeah. Anyway, so, and this is from the Outlander collection. That's my mom's favorite book series ever. And so I thought it would be nice for her to have. Plus, she loves orange. It's her favorite color. So this was perfect. Yeah. So where was I last time? I think I had just finished the back panel, and I didn't bring this down last week, but this is where I was. Over here, this, you can see I put a book on. This is a Hello Lavender stitch marker, and it's a cute little book, because this is the book themed yarn. Not like a lot of my yarn isn't, but this is, yeah, I mean, so what did I do? I finished the back panel, which was just the thinking measurements part. And then I picked up the front right, and I did the collar piece. So now I'm connected. I'm making the collar as I'm going. This is what flips over the shoulder. Yeah, so we'll see. We're getting there. And I guess I could lay this over her also, like pre-connection, just to see how off it looks. Like if it's looking ridiculous, then I'm gonna just have to rip back and change my needle size or something. So we'll just see. I'm not really like super concerned, but I am not on gauge, that's for sure. I would like to show you this too. I have this one in a tote bag, which I don't, sometimes I'll use totes. This is going to be a big one, so this is good for this. But this is a special bag that my friend Mimi got me a decade ago. But it is it's like a lithograph, so it's got text from the first Outlander book, and this is supposed to be Craig Nadoon. And she bought it for me when I was reading them after I had surgery. It was like a gift. I was reading them then, and she was like, that was what she got me for Christmas just a couple weeks later. Okay, so let's do the next one. Oh, actually, the only project I'm not going to talk about this week is my Birch Pullover. I did add some rows, but I need to do some thinking on gauge for that one too. I'm pretty sure I was like working on the collar. Maybe I had some of the fisherman rib. Anyway, I got done the short rows and joined like back in the round, and I did a couple of rows, and then I did a gauge because, like I said, I didn't do a gauge swatch for that one. And the yarn I'm using is what I showed you last week. Here, it's this Elmer tweed. And I can't tell, but I'm kind of thinking like the way that this is spun, etc. Like this might be almost a woolen spun. I mean, and it's pretty small fingering, but it's so sticky and plump. And it's just merino and cashmere, but it doesn't have that, it doesn't have like the silkiness of like, and it's 70% merino and 30% cashmere, but this is like cashmere fingering from Explorer Knits, and this is only 10% cashmere, right? But it has the nylon in it, but like you can see, like, look how these strands are, you can see the plies, like you can see the plies in here too, but like you can see how tight this is, a 4-ply. And like this is just so loose, like you just looking them next to each other. This is the same yardage. No, this is 435 and this is 400, and it's so plump. So it just makes me think like maybe this is kind of woolen spun. And I just don't know if I'm going to be able to, like, even if I go down a needle size, if I'm really truly going to be able to get gauge, because I think it's just tackier. I don't want to do a different yarn because I really do, like, this is still kind of the dream, but I think I'll just go down a size. And where I am in the pattern, I can kind of easily do that. I'll just be slightly off on stitch count for between sleeves and body, because you do something different early in the pattern to change that. But otherwise, between 4 and 5, you cast on the same number, and until you get to, and through short rows, you do the same number of stitches. You still have the same number. It's just that you do a different number of repeats for the raglan. I think I'll be off on, you know, row gauge a little bit too. So I think doing size 4 in total will get me closer to a size 5, and I'll just have like 2 stitches less in sleeve and more in body, which maybe I can make up for at a different, like flop that at a different point. But I'm just debating if I want to do that or not. And I almost feel like, as weird as this sounds, like I'm gonna just need to knit a little bit more and see how I really feel about the fabric. Because again, a swatch can tell you some things when it's flat, but like it's not going to tell you everything. So like it would be unfortunate if I have to rip it out, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, I don't even have that down here, and I just talked about it anyway. So let's go through the Culmination Blanket, which is the next thing that I cast on. And I said I wanted to do somewhere around 10 squares in the next 2 weeks, just to front load a couple. And I have been like, this is just like such a little shot of dopamine, because they're cute. I'm using yarn, which I want to be doing, that like didn't have any other purpose in my stash right now, or like is scraps or whatever. And it only takes me an hour or so to do one. So that feels rewarding. Okay, so here's what I did this week. I did this one, which I really love. And it's got this like, just like such a, like a nice light tan and orange feel. Then I did this one, which is using a more fall variegated in the background. Let me see if I can remember what any of these are. This one has in it a Applewood, which is a worsted color from Malabrigo. It has I don't remember what this tweed is called, like maybe, I don't know, it's some tweed from Hobby that's like acrylic-y wool. It's both, I think. And then this has one strand of fingering, which I'm not sure where that came from. It's like a light cream color. So who has any idea? Sorry if you can always hear her, but sometimes my kid is around when I'm filming it. She's so loud. Okay, so this is like that Applewood color, and then this is maybe like Noviembre, or I have 3 different like really fall variegated that have like this dark red, green, brown in them. And then this one has a strand of brown, which I'm pretty sure is a 2-ply fingering from Backloop Yarn and Fiber. That's just like some stock scraps I got from her. Even like in a D-stash, I got that scrap from her. So there's that. Okay, then I have this one, which is similar, but like here, let me show you. Similar-ish, but this one has one that's called SM Gold in it instead, which is a brighter green, and the red variegated, very similar though. And then it has a strand actually of that Noviembre or whatever the darker one is, and then it has one strand of actually the yarn that is from this Butterbeer. Okay, then I have this orange beauty. This one is really pretty. I love this one. This one has 5 strands. Oh man, this is a lot. So I've got this really pretty like brown color. I don't remember what this one, this is a Malabrigo worsted too. I can't remember what this one is called though. And then I think that this is a leftover scrap from the shawl that I made my mom, the Dap Days shawl. That's like a treehouse scrap that's got like, it's like mostly like an orangey tan color. And then I have a Knitting for Olive that's just an orange, like a dark orange color, both a mohair and a fingering weight. And then that same dark brown from Erin. So you can see like this is what those 5 look like. And then if you twist them together a little bit, it gives you kind of an idea of what fabric you're gonna get. And that is what this one looks like. And then I did one more, and this is very green. Okay, so I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to do, if I wanted to add green, but when I did this square particularly, I was like, okay, so there's definitely green in here, and I actually feel like that like plays into the fall changing colors kind of vibe. So this one is that SM Gold, which has the brighter green and the yellow and the purple in it, but I'm holding it with a strand of worsted, maybe a little bit closer to Erin weight, wool that I got so many years ago from a like Nordic Christmas fair here in Seattle, and it was like just unlabeled some wool, and it's so scratchy. Like I would definitely never be able to put this next to my face or whatever. I think it'll soften up when I wash it, but it has like really great density. So that's what this one looks like. Oh, and then I'm holding that with one strand of, I think this is all Tosh Lite, some sort of like single ply Tosh, Madeline Tosh yarn that I got also in a D-stash. Like I got some bits of that. So here are the 5 I did this week all together. Let me turn them the right way. Do you feel these fall vibes? It's the most fall vibes. Okay, I'm happy with how it's turning out. I don't have a ton, like I have one skein of this green yarn, and this green yarn is like really almost like an army green. It's like olivey. Here it is. And so I have some more green scraps I pulled out. So I'll probably only have like maybe 3 or 4 green heavy yarn squares. And then I might do a couple more of the scraps like in a brown to like, for however I decide to arrange them. That is going to be totally up to how many I have of each color. I have way more brown and orangey yellow. And I scanned some more up this week. Things that were scraps and things that were skeins that I could get rid of. Okay. By the way, I didn't say in the beginning, this is the Culmination Blanket by Lindsay Fowler, who is Larkspur Knits on Instagram. It is a bulky weight patchwork blanket, as you saw. You do crochet them together per her, like that, her method. I guess you could sew them however you want. Each square is about 1 foot by 1 foot. And I am doing with 8mm needles, like the recommended number of scraps, sort of. She assigns weights to all of the yarns, like all the different yarn weights that are available or that you could use in this blanket, from lace to, I even think, to bulky, or maybe Erin only. But you then take whatever scraps you have and you get to a number, right? For the larger size needle, like the recommended is 12. I think that most of the worsted I have, just like, because remember I did this square, and you can even tell like the density of these, like I showed you this last week with the yellow one, like it's just not as big, it's not as dense, it feels very different. And like I said, fingering held double is not really the same as DK in these, so like you have to just play with it a little bit. Now I can kind of tell, like, because I have these other ones here, if I sort of twist these together and then feel the new combination I have, plus now I've made a bunch of combinations, I have a good idea of what works and what doesn't. I am going to rip this one out. I am going to reuse the yarn in this, and I'll have to add probably for like the last 2 or 3 rows the same yarns, but I still have more of those. And add just one fingering in here, and I'll get closer to the density of all these others. So it's not a lot different, but it's enough. So yeah, I kind of changed the assignment, what I decided was a worsted weight. And this whole blanket, almost every square is going to have worsted weight in it. Maybe one, maybe two strands, because I just have so much of this like fall colored Malabrigo worsted. So I got 5 done, which is really excellent, and I'll be able to do 5 this week, hopefully. I don't know if I'm going to keep up that pace. Also have to remake this one. I don't know if I'm going to keep up that pace. I'm not really worried about it. I just wanted to front load if I could a couple. So I might do less next week, but I will try to get several more done. I've just been having like, I don't do more than one a day, but like getting one done in an hour, like it's just not that long and it feels very rewarding to have it done. Plus playing with all the different combos is fun. Like now that I scanned up some more yarn, I was like, oh, I want to do this, this, and this. Obviously I can only do one square at a time. So it's like, just keeping those in my mind. Anyway, the other thing I did actually realize when I was doing these heirloom squares is 10 is too many for me to wash at once. So I think going forward, I'm going to do like every 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll have 4 or 6 to wash. But same with these guys, like I'm going to wash what I have, like these 6 that are done, not including this one, right? Probably this weekend so that I can pin them, because I only have so many blocking mats. I only have so much space. I also only have so many pins, and I do like, part of this is to prevent curling. Like I really do need to pin the edges, and these are so big that it's like I probably only want to wash 4 at once, honestly, so I can really pin the whole thing so it just lays pretty flat. So, and I might sew in the ends first on these ones because I can, and like I'm not worried about tension for those. I don't know, we'll see. But I think I'll probably, maybe I'll wash them today even. I'll just like stick a couple in the sink and wash them. Okay. The next thing to talk about is probably the thing that got the most attention this week, actually, and that's my Doppio sample. This is a sample, sorry, let's do the pattern first. This is the pattern by Sung-hee Hong, who is Sung-hee Knits. She's got 2 patterns, this and the Dear Duomo, and they're both excellent. The Doppio, like, it's so funny because it's not like there aren't tons of bulky weight knits out there, but there's something about like a totally plain raglan where someone's given you the permission to play with colors as much as you want, that everyone's gone wild for this. When you buy yarn, you only have to buy a couple skeins of each color to get a combo that works for you, to get the most beautiful thing ever. And this is no exception, because this is not a color combo I thought I would like. It's not for me. I would not wear this because it's just really pretty far outside my palette. But I mean, as I'm wearing yellow right now, but I mean, it's much cooler. Like, look how much cooler that is. And it's a yellow yarn, one of the colors. It's a top-down compound raglan. I am, here is my stitch marker from last week I put on the back. This is my Flock 2024 stitch marker. I thought it went really well with the colors. That's also where I met Marina. And so I was like partway through the raglan last week. I finished raglan. I joined in the round. I did 4 inches of body. So I've got like quite a lot done. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. This week I wanted to finish the Surrey ball, but like, honestly, y'all, I mean, I think you probably know this from working with Surrey. If you have, it seems like this is not a lot of yarn, but this is so many hours and rows still. Like, there's so much yarn here still. This is probably half of a ball. Maybe not quite, but like that's what it's gonna feel like. So I was going to just like wait to do the neckband and stuff until I finish that Surrey, but I may jump ship and skein the other half of yarn I have, do the necklines, and start some sleeves, because I feel like I could do the whole body with that ball. That wouldn't be the end of the world either. It's just I would prefer to have it broken up. Yeah. The one thing I will say is, like, this seems like, being so simple stockinette, like you could just knit this without paying attention. This was my desk knit for a couple of days, but I decided it can no longer be my desk knit because I dropped the Surrey a couple of times, and not the fingering weights, because you can really feel those. The Surrey is so easy to drop, and it's a little bit harder to see when you do because it's like combined in here so well. So I had to drop down in a couple of places to catch the Surrey, which is not a big deal because I just do that with a crochet hook, but like, it's a wee bit annoying and I don't want to do that. So I decided this is like more of an upstairs knit that I just really do need to pay attention to, and that's okay. I haven't had a lot of meetings where I can knit anyway, but great progress. This is a size 3. It's for a 42-inch bust. Recommended ease is 2 to 5 inches for this pattern. I'm using 6mm needles. I will be, I am on gauge. I checked again before I joined the Raglan, and it was good. I will be shortening the underarm to edge of ribbing by like an inch or two, because Marina is very short. And that's all. So yeah, everything else same. This is made out of, I can't tell you the colorway, but that's her sock base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% recycled nylon, 437 yards for 100 grams. And 2 of those, the 2 different colors. And then her Surrey, which is 75% alpaca, 25% silk, 50 grams, 452 yards. So it's that thinner Surrey, similar to what I used for the tessellated from Paisley Knits. Okay. Now we have the last project, and this is a new cast on for me. It is another test knit. I told you last week what yarn I was using for it, and so I am very excited to show you because it is as what I dreamed. This is called Root Cellar, this particular pattern. It is a DK weight sock. I am doing the toe up version. There will be a cuff down version of all these patterns available. This is by Carlie Perrins, who is Northwoods Knit Co. I love Carlie's sock patterns. I think they fit really well. I think they're usually fun and interesting, but not very difficult. This is a size 3, which is supposed to fit a lady's 7 to 9.5. My foot is a 9.5. I think for a while I was picking on the slightly larger because my foot is kind of wide, and I like socks that are a bit more snug. So that's why I picked this one. It is a 7.75 inch circumference for a foot that's like 8 to 9.5 inches or something in circumference. Obviously length is determined by you. I am using the recommended needle size, which is 2.5mm needles. I'm really good for gauge, like very on. And then this is Stitch Noir DK sock in the pumpkin head. It was a set. Okay, so I will say something. This is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 250 yards for 100 grams, and that's for the main skein, and then the minis are 20 grams and whatever, 50 yards each. I had 2 minis with this. I had a dark gray and a orange, and I really decided last night as I was doing the heel that I put the dark gray on, and I was like, no, you know what? I would like to save this dark gray for something else, just another project to have in mind. So anyway, I knew I had enough of the orange, so I just went with that. Plus, I just feel like it pops a little bit more. The dark gray was really dark. This is a, heel flap gusset but toe up, and it's a slipped stitch heel, which is her preference and also one of mine because I've made so many different patterns. And so I got all the way through the heel, the gusset and the heel, and I did 2 rows or something of the pattern after. And so I can make this as long as I want a cuff up, and I'll probably do a few inches, but I don't like very tall socks. Like some people really like the taller mid-calf socks, and I do not. I don't want them to be shorties, but I don't want them to be super long. And I'm going to do the entire cuff also in the main color, which is how she designed this. Not that you couldn't do a contrast cuff if you wanted. But yardage wise, I should be fine if I do that. I love Carlie's patterns. This will come in a 3 pattern set. So you can kind of see here, like it's got this like little X's. One of the reasons I picked this because I knew I wanted to use this yarn before I even applied for the test knit if I was going to do it. And this was probably the least, like the one where I felt you could still maybe see the pattern a little bit, but it's like not too busy with the color. Like it just gives you a flavor of the pattern, which is fine. I mean, I don't think socks need to scream the pattern all of the time. The other one, there's 2 other patterns in this set, which I think she's calling them the Homestead It's like the Homestead sock set. She usually does like a fall and winter. I haven't seen a DK weight set from her in a while, but you'll get all 3 patterns and then you just pick cuff up or toe, or cuff down or toe up for when you purchase them. As a tester, you get both, which is really nice because like sometimes I want the variety, though I'll probably prefer to make them toe up most of the time. I don't know. Anyway, super fun. Good progress. I only have to get 1 sock done. It is due on the 3rd, so before I even film next week. So what I'll end up, I don't know if I'll make both by then. I just have to get her the weight and everything for this one. I'm kind of thinking the second sock for me always goes faster, especially for something like this, where I just have to determine how many like repeats I did, and then I don't have to think about it at all, and I don't have to remeasure on my foot and all that kind of stuff. So I'll just be able to fly through that. It went really fast. I only cast it on Sunday. I didn't work on it at all Tuesday. So a little bit Monday, a little bit on last night, which last night I just did the heel turn. And that went pretty quickly. That's all for projects, which is a lot of projects. I get that. I'm probably going to work on most of these right now every week. Like hopefully socks will be done, or I'll have 1 done. I will have to have 1 done next week. Maybe I'll have both. Who knows? It could be, this is good football knitting for me as it's now football season for things. But yes, I would love to have 1 finished project next week. I just have no idea what that might be. Nothing really is feeling like it's close enough, but maybe the 3 seasons, maybe the Doppio, though that's a little bit doubtful considering how much I had finished and still feel like there's left. Anyway, here is my acquisition for the week. This is not something I bought for myself, but something that Mike got me for our 5-year anniversary, which was 2 weeks ago. And the traditional gift for 5 years is wood. And so he found me something wooden. I don't know how many people are going to be like floored by this, but I am floored by this. So this is a ball winder. That's not the most exciting gift in the world, is it? But this is the Fiber Arts Supply Co. ball winder. This is what you see in a lot of LYSs. It is not a cheap gift. Like, this is a really nice gift from him. It is not super cheap, and Sylvan and I were talking about this. We both replaced our ball winders this past year, and we both went with a Stanwood, like the 10-ounce one. I think she went the 10-ounce, and I did the 7-ounce one. So we both went with an upgrade from the Knit Picks, and that was good. It's good. It's a great ball winder. And it's, you know, I don't even know how much the one I got was, like $40 or something like that, right? It is still a tad noisy, and I feel like already it was like, it's not jumping, but like sometimes I can feel like the gears a little bit in it. And as we know, I wind a lot of yarn. I prefer to get hand-dyed skeins, or even just like other like yarns that come in hanks. And sometimes when they come in the little skeins, I'll still wind them up because I don't like to work from those little balls. So he got me this. And okay, because Sylvan and I were talking about it, and I even said something to him, I'm sure then, that I was like, oh, this is like, it's maybe too much. Maybe my next one I'll upgrade. And he just was like, well, why not now? Because he's a nice guy. So yes, I feel very spoiled by that, and it's very nice. And it is, I've got to say, it is silent. I wind a lot of yarn while baby is sleeping because that's like a great time for me to do that. And it's loud, and like she probably doesn't care. She's got a noise machine in her room or whatever, but like I feel conscious about it, and this is silent, so quiet. So that's nice. Okay, so I finished 3 books this week. I feel like I'm reading really long books right now, so maybe I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm reading too, but we'll go through these really fast. So I read Summer Skies by Jenny Colgan because Knit Book Club, which is run by Anna from Story and Stitches, was on Saturday. And so I did not read the book. The last time I read the book like 3 weeks before, and then I was like, oh wait, I can't really remember everything that happened. So I went to read this one closer, but anyway, I did read it. and I also did not get a copy from the library for a really long time. So the first one in this, like, I don't know if it's a series or it's gonna, you know, at least a couple companion novels, is called Summer Skies. The one for book club is called Close Knit. So the first one is about Morag, who is a pilot, who had like, she's a commercial pilot who had like an incident happen, and then she's on leave, and then she goes up to her like small town. She's like from just off the northeastern side of Scotland, like way northeast, like the tip, and near the archipelago of islands that really close to Norway, like the islands that go towards Norway. Anyway, those islands are real places. Some of the places she's like using alternate names for, whatever, it's fine. The first one though is about Morag, and then she like gets kind of moored on an island for a little bit because there's a storm, yada yada. And it's like her love story, and it's okay. I didn't like super love it. Anyway, so this second book is called Close Knit, and it's about Gertrude. She goes by Gertie. Actually, she hates that name, which is kind of interesting because she still goes by it anyway. Who is from the town that Morag returns to in Summer Skies, and Morag is in it, and like her best friend who was in the first one, and she is pregnant and going on maternity leave, and they need a replacement. So they hire Gertie, and then there's also a guy, which I cannot remember his name, and he's like not in, it's very strange because he's not on the page for Goodreads at all, and he's not mentioned in like anybody's reviews, but he's another perspective for the book. Anyway, we talked a lot about this in Knit Club, like on our call. And I think overall, I would give this book like a 3 rating. I thought it was okay. I actually thought like the best parts of it were when she was like talking about Scotland. It was like a love letter to Scotland. I didn't care about the relationships that much. I feel like the character development was like fine, but kind of meh. And she does this thing, well, maybe like Jenny Colgan does it in a lot of books because she did it in Summer Skies too, where there is a relationship that you think is gonna happen, or like she kind of builds it up like that's gonna be the romance, and then she's like, haha, just kidding, which I don't love, because then I felt like the relationship, sorry, these birds are super loud outside my office, the relationship that ends up happening, you don't get the same build, which is like part of what I'm reading romance novels for, is the build, the anticipation, the actual get together point. I thought the transitions between characters was kind of confusing. She gave a couple of characters perspective moments, like just like 1 or 2 that I hated. Like I just didn't think it was necessary. And also I didn't care like at all. One of them she gives to like a guide. Anyway, the point of the climax of this story or whatever is that, there ends up being a kids trip where weather moves in unexpectedly, and these cast of characters have to rescue the school trip. It didn't feel like a very important part of the book, even though that is like what the whole thing was building up to. And I don't know. Again, I didn't love it. It was fine. So the last book I finished was called First Down, which is by Grace Reilly. It is a sports book. It's a sportscology book. And the series is called Beyond the Play. There are going to be, I think there's 4 of them. Maybe there's 5. But at least the first 3, I think, are going to be the brothers, which, you know, I like a connected character book series. But the first one is about James, who is a like football superstar quarterback, and Bex, whose real name is Beckett, who is like a very responsible young woman who tutors him in a class, and they fall in love, whatever. I mean, as expected. It was pretty good. The writing style is okay. I didn't like them as much as the Elle Kennedy books, but I'll probably continue reading because they're like available, and it's really good nighttime reading when I need to stop thinking about some of these other books. I won't really go into it very much, but the other things I'm reading are The 12th Wheel of Time book, which I can't remember what the title is, but I'm pretty far into it. And this, I don't feel like, I was worried I would feel a huge difference between this is like the first that Brandon Sanderson worked on. But as he says in the foreword, like a lot of the books were written, or like scenes were written and parts of it, and he was like stringing together the last ideas for Robert Jordan. So it feels pretty cohesive. Like I didn't, maybe I just like didn't really notice it, but I've never read anything by Brandon Sanderson, so I have not like felt his voice is coming through super strong. Anyway, I'm also reading the third in the Windy City series, which is an ebook, so that's on my Kindle. And then I'm reading City of Brass, which is by S.A. Chakraborty. I think that's what the author's name is. Anyway, it's really long. Katie wanted to read it for our not real but sort of real impromptu book club. That's me and her and Jess from our knitting group. We all like romantasy. We give each other recommendations all the time anyway, but she was reading it currently, so I just got it from the library like the day before she said something. I was like, oh great, so I'm reading it now too, and it's so good, but I'll talk about it next week because I also want to talk about it with Katie before I talk about it on the podcast. But I'm not done with it. I've got several hours left. Okay, so the other thing I said I wanted to do is talk about my favorite fall patterns that have come out recently. And you know what? I feel like this episode is already really long, so I'm not going to do it right now, but I think I'll put out a companion episode that's maybe like 15 or 20 minutes long this week. And I probably will film it still today, but later today. And I want to go through some highlighted patterns, and I've got some honorable mentions, and I've got some that people mentioned to me. But yeah, I have a handful of patterns to talk about more in depth, and then a couple that are honorable mentions. And that is what we're going to talk about in a little short pattern roundup, fall 2024 heavy hitters. So that's all. If I want to know your guys' opinion on the Weekender or the DRK everyday. Oh, I'm just so torn. I don't know. Either is a good answer, I guess, is the question, is the real story, but I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, let me know what you've been working on. What fall plans do you have? Are you fully in? I mean, it's really fall here. It's funny because I'm in a couple of fall Instagram knit chats, and people are asking like, does it feel like fall weather where you are? And like, it totally does here. We are fully in fall. And I get that a lot of places in the US and Northern Hemisphere in general are just like not feeling it yet. So I hope it gets to be fall weather for you soon. I'm drinking the pumpkin spice lattes. I'm enjoying all the pumpkin spice foods from Trader Joe's. Yeah, just loving it. Okay, yeah, let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're reading. As always, please join my Discord if you would like to. I'm going to put in a comment today with voting for our next knit get together, which is through the Discord. And so I'd love if you joined. I will talk to y'all later. Have a super day and enjoy all your yard crafts. Bye.